What if I told you that a group of 65, 75-year-olds reversed their biological age markers in only 30 days? This isn't science fiction. It happened in a study where they ditched these 15 aging accelerators. What I've seen, again and again over decades in medicine, is this. People don't age overnight. They lose signals. And when the body stops receiving those signals, it begins to shut systems down, one by one. Legs weaken, thinking slows, sleep fragments, resilience disappears. Independence quietly slips away. We call this normal aging, but it isn't. One of the few physicians who truly understood this was Dr. Shigeaki Hinohara, a man who practiced medicine well past the age most people assume life should shrink. Hinohara believed something that modern medicine rarely teaches. The body is designed to maintain itself, but only when it receives consistent, gentle, daily signals, not extreme exercise, not heroic willpower, not expensive interventions. Signals. He once explained it with an analogy that has stayed with me my entire career. A house doesn't fall because of one storm. It collapses because daily maintenance stopped. That is exactly what happens to the aging body. Not one dramatic failure, but thousands of tiny omissions, standing a little less, moving with less purpose, eating at inconsistent times, losing routine, feeling less useful, disconnecting socially. Each one seems harmless. Together they accelerate aging faster than most diseases. And here's what's important, and I want you to hear this clearly. Rapid aging is not just wrinkles or gray hair. It shows up as weaker legs, which lead to falls, slower thinking, which erodes confidence, poor sleep, which accelerates inflammation, low resilience, where every stressor hits harder than it used to. This isn't about vanity, it's about dignity. Now contrast that with what we see in the longest living populations on Earth, something studied extensively by Dan Buettner. These people don't rely on motivation, they don't push through, they don't chase optimization. Instead, their lives are structured around simple daily habits that make slower aging the default. No willpower required, no extremes, just signals, repeated, gently, every day. That's the part most people miss. Aging doesn't accelerate because you're getting older. It accelerates because those daily signals quietly stop. And today, I'm going to walk you through 15 daily habits that protect your muscle, your brain, your metabolism, your balance, and your independence. Not trends, not fads, not things the wellness industry profits from. These are the small, almost boring behaviors that keep the body reminded that it is still needed. We'll go through them across 4 systems, and we'll end with the most underestimated habit of all, the one that determines whether everything else sticks or slowly disappears. Listen closely. There is a quiet belief that often settles in after 60, and it sounds reasonable on the surface. If movement happens a few times a week, that should be enough. The body, however, does not operate on totals or good intentions. It operates on frequency. Muscles, nerves, joints, and balance systems do not remain active because of occasional effort. They stay functional because they are repeatedly reminded that they are still required. When those reminders fade, the body does not resist. It adapts by conserving energy. Motor units, the connections between nerves and muscles that allow smooth and confident movement, begin to disconnect. Balance becomes cautious. Strength fades first in the legs and hips. Grip weakens, and with it, a sense of stability in everyday tasks. This is not malfunction, it is efficiency. The aging body is always asking a simple question: is this still needed? When the answer becomes unclear, systems gradually power down. The body behaves much like a motion sensor lighting system. As long as movement continues to trigger the sensor, the lights stay on. When movement becomes rare or predictable, the system assumes the space is no longer in use and shuts off to conserve power. That is what happens when daily physical signals quietly disappear. These signals are not workouts. They are small movements that tell the nervous system, the muscles, and the balance centers that participation is still expected. Standing up and sitting down multiple times across the day preserves leg strength, hip coordination, and balance without drawing attention to itself. Long periods of uninterrupted sitting send the opposite message. When stillness stretches on, blood flow slows, nerve signaling dulls, and muscles receive the signal that inactivity has become the default. Using the legs and grip intentionally in daily life maintains capability without effortful planning. Stairs remain part of movement. Light loads are carried. Objects are held, lifted, and stabilized. These simple actions quietly preserve grip strength and leg confidence, two of the earliest foundations of independence. Gentle morning mobility before breakfast serves as an opening signal to the day. Joints, connective tissue, and the nervous system receive notice that the body is expected to function. There is no performance goal. There is simply participation. What is striking is how little intensity is required and how much function is preserved. People who move this way rarely appear to be doing anything remarkable, yet their daily capability remains intact because the body is constantly reminded that it is still in use. Movement appears again and again in small doses throughout the day. Legs, hips, and grip are repeatedly invited into action. The nervous system stays engaged. Balance remains calibrated. There is no dramatic transformation. There is quiet preservation. And when these physical signals remain present, the rapid shutdown, often blamed on aging, slows considerably. There is a widely accepted assumption that the speed of aging is largely decided by genetics, that some people are simply built to decline faster, while others are fortunate. Biology tells a different story. Inside the body, aging speed is regulated less by effort and more by timing. Cells repair themselves on schedules. Mitochondria, the structures that produce energy, respond to rhythm. Inflammation rises or settles based on internal clocks, not willpower. When these timing signals become inconsistent, repair slows even if nutrition and activity remain unchanged. The body does not experience life as a continuous blur. It experiences it as a sequence of expected events. When those events arrive out of order or unpredictably, systems struggle to coordinate. This is why metabolism and recovery often feel more fragile with age. It is not because the machinery is broken, it is because the schedule that once guided it has faded. A useful way to understand this is to imagine the body as running on calendars rather than motivation. When meals, light exposure, sleep, and activity arrive at roughly the same times each day, internal systems align. When timing drifts, confusion sets in at the cellular level. Protein consumed earlier in the day supports muscle maintenance and stabilizes energy. When it arrives late or inconsistently, repair signals weaken. Evening digestion extending too close to sleep interferes with overnight recovery, even when food quality is unchanged. Morning daylight acts as a powerful signal that anchors the entire internal clock. Without it, hormones governing alertness, appetite, and sleep lose their rhythm. Sleep itself becomes lighter, fragmented, and less restorative. Consistency matters here more than precision. The body responds best when it can anticipate what comes next. When sleep and meal timing vary widely from day to day, cellular repair becomes inefficient and low-grade inflammation lingers. What often surprises people is how much changes without adding anything new. Energy stabilizes. Recovery improves. Mental clarity sharpens. Aging slows not through force, but through alignment. Nothing dramatic occurs on the surface. Yet internally, systems regain their coordination. Mitochondria function more efficiently. Repair windows reopen. The body spends less time in a state of metabolic confusion. This is not about discipline. It is about predictability. When the body knows when to expect nourishment, light, and rest, it allocates resources wisely instead of defensively. Over time, this quiet regularity becomes one of the strongest protections against accelerated internal aging. If this is helping you see aging differently, consider subscribing. This channel focuses on the small daily signals that protect strength, clarity, and independence as the years add up. The nervous system is often discussed in terms of mood, anxiety, or stress management. In reality, it governs nearly every process that determines how quickly the body ages. When the nervous system remains in a state of constant activation, the body behaves as though it is under continuous threat. Stress hormones stay elevated. Repair is postponed. Muscle tissue breaks down more easily. Immune defenses weaken. Sleep becomes shallow and fragmented. The brain itself begins to age faster. This state does not feel dramatic. It often feels normal. That is what makes it so powerful. A body that never fully settles never truly recovers. Even with healthy food, movement, and good intentions, aging continues to accelerate when the nervous system does not receive signals of safety and closure. An effective way to understand this is to picture an engine that is always revving. The vehicle may still move, but the wear on the parts increases rapidly. Heat builds, efficiency drops, longevity shortens. The same principle applies biologically. When stress hormones remain elevated into the evening, tissues do not shift into repair mode. The body stays alert when it should be restoring. Evening downshifting signals the nervous system that the active portion of the day is complete. Without this transition, the brain struggles to disengage. Thoughts loop. Sleep onset delays. The night becomes lighter and less restorative. Slow nasal breathing changes the rhythm of the nervous system in a way that is difficult to replicate through thought alone. It reduces internal urgency and allows the body to move out of a defensive posture. Over time, this shifts hormone balance toward recovery rather than breakdown. Stimulating media late in the day competes directly with these calming signals. Rapid images, loud sounds, and emotionally charged content keep the brain alert long after the body should be settling. Light exposure compounds the effect by suppressing natural sleep hormones. Predictable daily routines provide stability that the nervous system relies on more with age. When the day has a recognizable flow, the brain spends less energy anticipating uncertainty. This conserves resources and lowers baseline stress. What often goes unnoticed is that many people maintain excellent habits on paper, while aging continues to accelerate underneath. The missing piece is not effort, it is the absence of full physiological calm. When the nervous system regularly receives signals that it is safe to power down, repair accelerates. Muscles recover more efficiently, sleep deepens, immune balance improves, cognitive resilience increases. The body does not need constant stimulation to stay alive. It needs contrast. Activation followed by release, engagement followed by rest. When that rhythm returns, decline slows in ways that are often mistaken for luck or genetics. There is a quiet assumption woven into modern culture that aging is a purely physical process, that muscles weaken, memory slows, and energy fades because the body wears out like an old machine. Biology again tells a deeper story. The body does not function independently of identity. It responds to how a person sees their role, their usefulness, and their place in the world. Purpose shapes behavior without conscious effort, and behavior shapes biology. When a sense of usefulness fades, movement naturally decreases. Daily rhythms loosen. Hormones linked to motivation and resilience decline. Consistency erodes. None of this happens suddenly. It unfolds gradually, almost politely. Purpose influences how often the body moves, how regularly routines are maintained, and how stress is interpreted. It affects hormone balance in ways that directly influence muscle preservation, immune strength, and brain health. Aging speed shifts accordingly. A helpful way to understand this is to recognize that the body follows the role it believes it still has. When that role feels diminished, systems begin to downsize. When the role feels relevant, the body stays engaged. Feeling useful each day creates a subtle but powerful signal. It anchors routine. It invites movement without effort. It provides a reason to stay physically and mentally involved. This sense of contribution does not need to be large or public. Its impact comes from consistency, not scale. Social connection works in a similar way. Human biology evolved in groups, and isolation is interpreted by the nervous system as risk. When connection fades, stress hormones rise and resilience drops. When connection remains present, even in simple forms, the body stays regulated and responsive. Perhaps the most influential signal of all is how aging itself is perceived. When aging is framed as decline, the body responds defensively. When it is understood as adaptation, behavior naturally shifts toward preservation. Language shapes expectation, and expectation shapes physiology. Two people can share the same age, similar health histories, and comparable circumstances. The one who feels needed, connected, and engaged often ages more slowly, not because they try harder, but because their biology remains oriented toward participation. This is where everything converges. Physical signals, metabolic timing, and nervous system calm all rely on consistency. Consistency is sustained most reliably when life still feels purposeful. The body is remarkably responsive to this signal. When identity remains intact, systems stay online. When purpose persists, decline loses momentum. This final layer is often overlooked because it cannot be measured easily, yet it quietly determines whether the other habits endure or fade. When everything discussed is placed side by side, a pattern becomes impossible to ignore. Aging after 60 does not usually accelerate because the body suddenly fails. It accelerates because the quiet systems that once held everything together stop receiving daily confirmation that they are still needed. The body responds logically, not emotionally. When signals fade, it conserves. When they return, it rebuilds. This perspective aligns closely with the lifelong philosophy of Dr. Shigeaki Hinohara, who spent decades reminding patients that longevity is not created through force or urgency. He viewed the body as something that responds best to respect, rhythm, and continuity. In his view, aging well was never about heroic effort. It was about daily care that never fully disappeared. When that care erodes, decline is misinterpreted as inevitability rather than feedback. The same pattern is visible in populations studied by Dan Buettner. Long-lived cultures are not defined by discipline or optimization. They are defined by environments where healthy signals remain embedded in ordinary life. Movement happens naturally because life requires it. Eating follows predictable timing because days have structure. Social contact persists because isolation is not normalized. These habits do not feel special, yet their cumulative effect is powerful. What becomes clear is that aging with dignity is not about resisting time or chasing youth. It is about preserving function, walking steadily without fear, thinking clearly without strain, sleeping deeply enough for repair to occur, living independently without constant negotiation with the body. These outcomes are not protected by intensity, they are protected by consistency. It is also important to recognize that restoring these signals does not require perfection. Biology does not demand flawless execution. It responds to patterns. Even partial restoration can shift the trajectory. When movement reappears throughout the day, muscles and nerves respond. When timing regains stability, repair systems become more efficient. When the nervous system regularly settles, resilience improves. When purpose remains present, the body stays engaged without effort. What often surprises people is how responsive the body remains well into later decades. The machinery does not vanish with age, it waits. When familiar signals return, even gently, systems begin to cooperate again. This is not reversal, it is responsiveness. Aging accelerates when daily signals stop, not because time is cruel, but because the body adapts to silence. When those signals return, the body recognizes them, and more often than not, it answers. If these quiet daily signals are helping you see aging differently, subscribing keeps them coming. Simple habits, steady strength, and clarity that lasts.